Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. Stasis has been in the game a pretty long time at this point, and for a good portion of its time within our hands, it was super potent, like meta potent. But when looking at the now and how we currently play the game, I don't know about you guys, but Stasis just really isn't around anymore. Now that isn't the complete truth. We do have some Stasis stuff like Stasis turrets, and every now and then I'll see a Stasis hunter. But when I look at what people are taking into GMs, raids, master raids, I don't really see or expect Stasis. And I feel it's probably a similar experience for you guys. So let's talk about what's happening to warrant this video being called Stasis 2.0. Well, next season we are getting a number of Stasis changes, and also its inclusion on the artifact. From a recent-ish This Week in Destiny, Bungie states, for our Stasis lovers out there, we have some things coming up regarding your Stasis abilities in Season 23. Not only will the seasonal artifact feature Stasis perks, but there will also be some Stasis ability changes coming, including Glacial Quake, Frostpulse, Winter's Shroud, Glacier Grenade, and more. We will have an artifact and abilities preview with more details as we get closer to the Season 23 launch. Now, before we get into what is probably changing within our Stasis kits, I want to point out that we will likely be getting more details about this as soon as this Wednesday. Granted, we did have kind of a meltdown recently, so I'm not sure if they're going to keep on that schedule, but you should still keep an eye out for any blog posts coming up. And if you enjoy staying up to date on the game, a subscription to the channel is a good way to supplement your subscriber feed with even more of that Destiny 2 info that I know you love. And it helps this channel out a lot. So as for the changes, the first thing I want to bring up is the inclusion of the "and more" statement. What this means to me is that they are likely changing our fragments or even adding new ones. Some of our Stasis fragments have really been left out to dry and are genuinely just bad when comparing them to our other 3.0 subclass fragments. Looking specifically at our Stasis fragment Whisper of Bonds, it requires us to freeze an enemy and kill them to spawn one orb of power, which is already a bit much on the activation side, but then we also look at its stat bonuses, which are minus 10 discipline and minus 10 intellect, which is just nuts. How is that okay? That is the equivalent of putting on heavy-handed and losing 20 stats. It's pretty ridiculous. So I think going into Season 23, at the very least, our fragments will be rebalanced when it comes to their stat modifiers. And I also expect some fragments will be given bonus effects, or we might even get a few entirely new ones. But realistically, that probably won't happen because not even Strand is getting new fragments with each season. So now for the actual abilities, I assume everything that was name dropped will be getting pretty much reworked. These were Glacial Quake, Frostpulse, Winter's Shroud, and Glacier Grenade. Glacial Quake is a pretty obvious contender for a rework, as this super is just awful. The only place I ever see the super be good is when you're cheesing a boss like Percy's for whack shatter damage. So hopefully they can come at this super and make it a bit better than just a crystal spawner and more of an actual engaging super. As for Frostpulse, this warlock aspect currently reads, casting Rift generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants, which I thought wouldn't actually be changed. I hear it's a pretty alright aspect, but I guess comparing it to Ice Flare bolts and our Stasis turret, it just isn't worth using. So to that end, I expect this aspect to turn more into something that isn't just a one and done. Maybe it turns your Rift into an area that constantly freezes enemies that get close, something like that. And then for our hunters, the Winter Shroud aspect is apparently being looked at, which currently reads dodging slows nearby targets. And this is another one of those okay abilities. I feel Bungie might again be looking at making this more of an engaging aspect, as well as a bit more potent, because a one and done slight slow isn't really cutting it. But with how they're going to change it, other than just increasing how much of those slow stacks it gives, I really couldn't guess how they're going to go at it. I feel like similar to the Frostpulse, they might make it a bit more engaging, more of a lingering effect, but we'll have to see. And then the last name-dropped ability, which was really interesting to me, was the Glacier Grenade, which out of all of the abilities here, I genuinely would never expect this one to be touched in a million years. But here we are. There's a couple ways that I could see them changing it. Perhaps they're just changing its shape with how the crystals spawn or how much damage it does. But I really feel like something more is going on because it was name dropped here as abilities that are getting looked at. I can't really think of anything they could do to the Glacier Grenade itself that doesn't alter its identity completely. Perhaps these Glacier Grenades are going to follow the philosophy of becoming more of a persistent ability rather than just a one-off. So maybe come next season, when you throw a Glacier Grenade, it now spawns multiple crystals over time at the same location. It could look similar to what we have now with Salvation's Grip, but as an overtime effect. Or perhaps just simply the throwing of the grenade is changing, and maybe you can choose what the orientation and the location of the crystals are by holding the button or something like that. But ultimately, for Glacier Grenade and all the abilities I'm talking about now, it's all just speculation. I do think there is some merit to what I'm saying, knowing how Bungie works with abilities, but we really don't know. Luckily, however, we won't have to wait long to actually see what juicy changes we can look forward to. So, thank you for watching, and I want to say one last thing before you go. I am now an editor for Aztecross. I have been for about a month now. So if you're a returning viewer and you saw my channel kind of drop off the face of the earth, I'm not gone, I was just busy. I will be returning a little bit more frequently, but I should get some more higher quality videos. And also if you see similar edits on his channel as you see here, well, I probably edited that video. And so, again, to anybody that is returning after my month-long hiatus, it really makes me smile to see that you've come back. And as per usual, if you want to support me and support this channel, a like, a subscription, a comment really helps. But if you want to support me and you can't think of a comment down below Stasis 2.0. And with that, of course, as always, even if it's been a while, I hope you are having a great day, and I hope to see you around.